What up, YouTube? Welcome back. So, I just want to come through and give my opinion about this situation, give my 2 cents about this situation involving Rick Ross, Just Brittany, and Kaya. Not the my neck, my back Kaya, a different Kaya. Because when I heard Kaya's name, I was like, Kaya? How's she getting involved in this? But, so, apparently, a clip from a VH1 reality show resurfaced that features Rick Ross, Just Brittany, and Kaya. And in the video clip, pretty much Kaya and Just Brittany sing a song separately, but they sing a song that has the same melody and pretty much just do the same song, right? And they showed Brittany's rendition first, and when I heard it, I was like, that sounds a bit pitchy, a bit off, but Rick Ross liked it. All right. So when Kaya comes up, she sings the song and sings it very well, but then he says that basically Brittany did it better. And to be fair, this is a matter of opinion, but I feel like popular opinion is that Kaya sung it better than Brittany, and people are speculating that this may be a case of colorism at play. It could be, but I'll say that I don't know. I don't really see Brittany as like a light-skinned chick per se. Perhaps light-skinned adjacent, maybe. Um, but she is lighter than Kaya, and some people are speculating that colorism played a factor in it. And personally, I feel like that could be a factor, but I feel like more so kind of like attractiveness, or what is deemed as attractive to some folks, played a part in it. Pretty privilege played a part in it. I feel like those are factors at play too. And Rick Ross, he just chose the woman who he felt was a better look. And ultimately, this is just reflective of what happens in the industry on a daily basis and just in life in general, unfortunately. And he also said something that was like, whoa, and said like, oh, Britney sounded better than Kaya, and that song was not a good song choice for Kaya. I'm like, no, that song choice wasn't a good song choice for Britney. And by the way, I thought that Just Brittany was a rapper, not really a singer. When I first heard of Just Brittany, back when Rihanna released her song "Be Better Have My Money," and folks was speculating that Rihanna may have, bit off of Just Brittany or whatever. That's when I first heard about Just Brittany, and she was a rapper. Maybe she's like a singer slash rapper. But I think maybe she should probably just stick to the rapping part based on those vocals. But maybe she was just having a off day or something. But I think Rick Ross just liked Britney's look better. I think that he liked, the package, you know, that Britney presented a bit better as far as the looks are concerned. Plus, she kind of low key looks like she's willing to put out and get dug out. And not saying that she is like that, but I'm just saying the way that she was dressed, a bit provocative. So that may have played a part in it too. And as well, just a bit of a sidebar here. Do you think that Just Brittany had a BBL? Just wondering. But of course, when it comes to the music industry, image is important, especially when it comes to marketing. And people just sometimes feel like, oh, this particular image is easier to market than that particular image. And I feel like Kaya's image was it was reserved. And I think that played a part in it. She wasn't like sexually provocative or dressed sexually provocative. And some people may speculate that, her skin tone and phenotype, pretty much her phenotype, may have something to do with marketability, or people perceiving her marketability to be low in relation to Just Brittany. And, personally, I feel like Just Brittany, I feel like, the body is banging. I feel like the face sometimes can have a bit of a, like, disconnect, whereas like you kind of have to catch it at the right angle. Like every angle doesn't work for her. I think she has like a kind of like a strong face, but particularly in this area. And I feel like Kaya's face actually is probably a softer face. And also, like, Brittany has to be careful too, because when it comes to the makeup that she puts on and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure like her face can't handle a lot of makeup and certain makeup um, techniques as well, because she may end up looking like a drag queen. And there was a couple of pictures I saw searching, Google Images, where it did kind of look like that. And not really trying to shade Brittany, because ultimately Brittany just entered a competition and was just trying to get ahead in the music industry. So I won't, you know, shade Just Brittany, because I don't think she said anything that was like foul about Kaiya or anything like that. Um, I'm more so concentrating more so on Rick Ross. And also notice that like there were a lot of people. It wasn't just Rick Ross. It was a lot of people who were going along to get along, right? Even though they may not have felt the same as Rick Ross, they sure did say that they did. And that's kind of like when it comes to colorism and racism and just the isms in general, where it's like a lot of people just go along with it, even if they may not even agree with it. They just end up colluding with it one way or another. And what's more important is like a lot of these black men out here who are in the industry who do low key kind of like, not even low key, like play a part in perpetuating colorism. Like a lot of these dudes have dark skinned daughters. I believe that Rick Ross has a dark skinned daughter, or at least a brown skinned daughter, right? And it's like, why don't I see more of the brown skinned, dark skinned fathers going to bat for their dark skinned daughters? And really just honestly, any black man who has a brown skin or dark skinned daughter. I don't really see that. You know, I don't see, at least in the mainstream, in the public, like I don't see that. Not saying that it doesn't exist at all. Not saying that everybody's the same. Not saying that, oh no, what did the black man do this time? You know, not saying that. But why don't I see it more present in the mainstream media when these dudes do have a platform, right? And again, these dudes having a platform, why don't they seem to push like women who have the same phenotype as them? You know, I don't see that being them pushing that as much. Right? Not saying that they don't deal with them at all, not saying that it never happened in the history of the universe, but it should be more. Because if it was more, we probably wouldn't be having a conversation like this and centering it around colorism or including colorism in it, if this was the case. Um, and, Rick Ross had said a couple of things too in like an interview a while ago, as far as his feelings about signing a female artist to his label. And in so many words, I can't quote it exactly, but basically, pretty much he's just saying, you know, if he invested in a female artist, then he expects to hit, pretty much, right? And he didn't want to sign a female artist because he felt like it may end up kind of like crossing over from business to personal, and mixing business and pleasure together. Um, so, for Kaiya, that may have been a blessing in disguise. She may have dodged a bullet on that. You know, I don't know how it worked out for Brittany, but I heard that she's not signed to his label anymore. I'm assuming this is Rick Ross's music label or whatever. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Um, but yeah, you know, for Rick Ross, if he's investing in the female artist, then he expects to hit. And, pretty much, so she got to be making hits and let him hit too. And that's a bit interesting. Because I wonder, does he have similar expectations for the male artists that are on his label? Of course, I'm not saying that he would expect them to like put out, but does he expect something from them? You know, like he expects that is perhaps equivalent to what he expects from his female artist that he would sign, you know? Because it seems like the female artist, she would have to, you know, earn him money as well as put out, while the male artist would just have to earn him money, you know. And this is business. I'm not trying to tell Rick Ross how to run his business. And, Rick Ross got way more money in his bank account than I do. But, just saying though, it's business, and you shouldn't be mixing the business and pleasure together. And he does know that because he has spoken on that. And also, I'll say, before people come through and be caping for Rick Ross, talking about, y'all leave that black king alone. That black king ain't do nothing wrong. That black king got a right to have a preference. You can't be everybody's preference. Right. Great. Wonderful. And I agree. Um, Rick Ross has a right to like who he likes. I'm not trying to police Rick Ross's preferences. Right. But we just still have to have conversations, though. We can't just allow things to go unchecked and unnoticed. Um, and also, Rick Ross does have a right to sign who he wants to sign to his label. He has a right to do that. And, he doesn't have to run it by anyone but the people that are involved in his business, ultimately. Um, but I feel like the show is a bit misleading if it's going to be based on who Rick Ross finds more attractive. In that case, why not just, revamp the show and just make it sort of like, Rick Ross's Flavor of Love or something? If that's the case, like, oh, date Rick Ross and get a record deal, right? Like, that'd be like a prize if you, make it to the end and win the Flavor of Love contest. And also, again, Rick Ross has a right to have a preference. He sure does. All right. Rick Ross has a right to have a preference, no matter if it's problematic, no matter if it creates drama and dissension within the community. He has a right to have a preference. He has a right to date who he wants to date. That is correct. All right. Just like he has a right to do what he wants to do, we have a right to speak on what we want to speak on and to call out situations and BS when we see it, just like people are calling out this situation with Rick Ross, just Brittany and Kaiya. Yeah. And also, I believe that Rick Ross, in like a deleted scene of the show, actually admitted to showing Brittany some favoritism. So, you know, the damage is done at this point. I'm kind of surprised that this ended up going viral after a couple of years after the fact, you know. But I guess better late than never. And hopefully maybe Kaiya and, perhaps even Brittany can get some promo off this. But I'll say, if you have a problem with this, if this doesn't sit well with you, then that is all right. And I would suggest that just don't support anything that has to do with Rick Ross and divest from Rick Ross. And perhaps even just divest in, supporting hip hop to an extent in general, um, because these dudes are very quick to speak out about, say, police brutality, which is cool, and I'm sure that is something that many of them may be familiar with, but when it comes to speaking out against, say, an issue, say, colorism, not so quick to do that, um, so, and again, if this offended you in some way, maybe you can not approach, but maybe you can get in contact with Rick Ross somehow. Maybe he can, y'all can have a good back and forth. Maybe he can apologize, you know. Um, if that'll work for you, then that's cool. But if it's just like, nah, I'm good with an apology, I don't need that, I'm just going to not support, then that is good and even better too. Um, you know. And before I go, I just do want to say that, colorism is pervasive just in general, but especially in like, rap and hip hop and just the music industry in general. And there are a lot of black men who are in positions to push back against that, in positions to challenge that, um, in positions to speak out about it, you know, but they choose, oftentimes more than not, to remain silent about it, or even worse, participate in it. And as well as quiet as it's kept, I feel like sometimes even black men, particularly black men of a darker skin tone, sometimes are operating under a scarcity mentality, where perhaps they feel like, oh, it can only be one brown skin or dark skin person, so that's going to be me. Sometimes, right? In some situations, maybe not in this situation, but in some situations, I do feel like that. Like, oh, it can only be one. It's going to be me, right? Yeah, but don't be fooled. You know, they aren't as ignorant as they may seem in regards to colorism. I think they can sympathize and empathize. They're just choosing not to for one reason or another, right? And I think, sometimes folks just may feel a bit like, some people who know that they participate in it may feel a bit like guilty and feel shameful about the behavior and don't want to own up to it. So they end up just sort of trying to avoid it, avoid the conversations about it and shut them down, you know. But I'm going to bring this video to a close. I don't want to go on for too long. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.